I think we're leaving tomorrow. Okay.
Welcome to Kiss and Tell podcast. It's Tuesday night. Welcome back.
Welcome. Did we do our intro?
No, we did, but it went really fast.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. Welcome. It's been a minute for Kiss and Tell from me, so I'm happy to be here.
And I hope everyone's doing well out there in audience land.
Yes.
So, how are you doing, Sabrina?
Friggin', here we are. I'm excited. We were chatting just a second ago, and just to kind of even jump right in while also welcoming is I'm doing well, and there's been some shit, right? Like regular life stuff and stuff that hasn't felt great. And around anniversary and around sex and around partnering and all of that stuff. At the same time, I'm super grateful that we have the conversations that we do, and that I also have support and places like this to go, and useful conversation with folks. Not, and I'm meaning useful, not just the fuck him or F her, or these people suck, but like hey, what are you doing to contribute to the shit, Sabrina? And what are they doing to contribute? And what do we all need to own? So that's where I'm at. How about you, Jenny? How are you?
Same. I mean, we're, my husband and I are doing well, but we had plans for the weekend that it was alone time, and they fell through because my son's friend canceled at the last minute. So
the last minute your friend canceled. And here's the thing you told me is if you don't mind me saying, how long has it been that you were saying?
Since we've been alone for like dinner and a movie and going shopping and stuff like that. But as far as alone, spending the night together alone, we haven't done that in 15 years.
15 years. You see, so that's the type of stuff that we're talking about today, friends. Like,
my husband and I have been together. I've been blessed. We've been together 26 years. We're about to celebrate 27 years in January.
Congrats!
Thank you. But we have a 15-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. So
hence the 15 years since having a night together. Right. And so I was just bitching a little bit about, I've got two that are 2 or under on top of my other 2, and the alone time thing. And, that's exactly what I was saying to you, just even a moment ago, that it's if we don't take the time, if we don't make the time, I literally just had my anniversary last week and it was shit. I was thinking about divorce. I was like, what are we going to do? We started this new adventure in a toy hauler. So we're in close proximity. We don't have the same support and resources we had. Like, talk about a pressure cooker. So that's where I'm at. There's amazing things in this opportunity that we've created for ourselves, for sure. And I will totally share how it's brought us together, as well as what are we going to do? And this is the conversation, of like, I know it's my interview today, and I'm sure that there's questions on some of that and, being an author or a contributor. But for me today, this is what's up. This is where I'm at, and my article that I need to submit to you is on this same topic. It's because this is what's real for me right now, is on how do we work on these things? How do we communicate them? What do we do about it?
Yeah, and share with the audience. I know what you're talking about, but share with the audience about your current adventure.
Yes. Okay. So let intro myself real fast, right? Dr. Sabrina Rojack, one of the authors, contributors for Kiss and Tell magazine, as well as, of course, doing my own things and having a practice. I'm also outside of sex therapy and really just communication, like we're communication specialists, I think, is the better way to say it, because it really doesn't have much to do with just sexuality or just any of these one things. Yeah. It's so that I offer therapy, but then regular, whatever that means, holistic natural doctor things, chronic and acute issues, because all of these things are tied together. Our emotional self, our
Right.
sexual self, our physical body, these things aren't separate, even though we carton them off that way.
Right.
And so, just to give that intro, is I do all of those things, and then my work with others, and then not just with others, this is really important, is then for myself. Like this is how I live and lead my life, or try, is through the idea of what is health in all areas. And I don't want to be a rock star in my health in one area and then complete crap in another. That's not congruent. There's a problem there. So leading all of that. And so to go with that into where am I at with my adventures is I left my traditional secure feeling, to say that too. We sold our house, and my husband and I, we had wanted to travel. And part of it is not just traveling for the sake of traveling, which why not? But so this is a multi-purpose trip. We are traveling to see family, to see friends, also is to find our next home. So I have a pull towards Vermont and towards Colorado, and even we're currently in Minnesota. And so it was, why not check it out while we can? So we sold our house. We bought a toy hauler, me and my 3 boys, 11, 2, and about to be 1 this month. And my husband, the 5 of us, in a 30-foot toy hauler. And we're traveling the country then for the next 4 or 5 months while we see the fam, network with people for the school that I'm wanting to open, and a bunch of the things and the business stuffs that I'm looking at doing, those relationships, but then find our next home and build relationships along the way and check out some stuff. So that is the adventure. So then taking that on the road with my practice. So yes, is seeing how this plays out. How do we do this? Can I do it on the road? Any pieces of this, whether it be the therapy stuff, whether it's the healing stuff, coaching stuff, whatever, doctor stuff. And so this is really one big effing experiment.
Yeah.
Of like, will this work? Let's throw it at the wall. Let's see what happens. So that is the great adventure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I have lived in Vermont briefly, and Colorado briefly.
Oh, get out.
So I see what you draw as to both. They're both wonderful places. So
yes, it definitely calls to the mountain fall, my fall and winter side of me for sure. I was raised in Washington State, so I was born in California, family's there, but I was raised in Washington State and Western Washington, so it's all mountains and trees and water. So that's certainly where my home. My heart home is. And then I do love the other places, that are tropically or beachy or whatever, for sure. So what has been what I wanted to even again, I know this is, I don't know if there's some questions that you have already, and I certainly could answer some of those, but because I want this to be more interactive for me than just hey, Sabrina, it's I want to talk about, because this is where my work is right now too, as far as from an interview perspective, is on for peoples that are coupled up, right? We'll talk, and we do talk, and I'm here about talking about the single life and what that looks like, and when you're trying to find a partner and all of that. I lived that life and I loved every bit of it. And now that I'm in a different space for myself, and exactly like what we've talked about, it's this being with the same freaking person, I don't know, let's just let me set myself up here real quick on the audience, on who we're dealing with or who I was, and then to now, this is my life, right? It's very different than what I had envisioned, if I'm being very, very honest, right? So I'm that person. 9 years ago, I did an interview thingy on YouTube, and it was my first one, and it was sex addict to sex therapist. So to get married, to be with one person was my nightmare. if I'm just being very honest. And not just because of commitment, or being like with one person or whatever's. It was because of the trauma and the things that I had experienced. And I have a history of sexual abuse. I have a history of women hating in my family where, we're not allowed, and except for babies and cleaning and, those types of things. So I've got this heavy history of disconnect, really. I mean, that's just the best way to say it. And so then for me, it really, besides the protection, certainly it was the easiest way that it made sense to have the perfect person without me having to feel like I had to lose myself or whatever's right. Or certainly if they hurt me or if they were going to disappear or whatever, it didn't matter. There were 4 other people, and betwixt the 5 of you, you made up the perfect person. But I never had to worry. I created a scenario for myself where I never had to worry about really being left, where I never really had to worry about being desired or, yeah. And to top that off, whether folk believe in sex addiction or not, like that's a thing versus a compulsion, it doesn't really matter. Is the end result was the same, which was I was putting myself in ridiculous situations that was harmful to myself and others without care for consequence, which is the definition of addiction. Right. So call it what you like. So just to give the bit of a setup, and I know I'm talking through that quickly. So if there's questions, I'll answer any of those questions, whether, Dr. Jenny, if that's you or audience. I am running over a lot of topics that might resonate with a lot of people. So I recognize that. But just, I was that person. Am very hurt, very wounded, but I definitely came off as I was in control of all of it. But I certainly had filled the space for myself where compliments weren't going to be an issue. I didn't have to worry about, do I think I look cute today or not? Because if I had a question, or even if I wasn't feeling it, then I put myself out there in a way that I was getting that reinforced. Objectify others while I could be objectified. So I'm saying this, it wasn't all bad for sure. I loved the hell. I had a great fucking time. I mean, there was a lot of bad stuff in there, but I had a blast. Like, I learned a lot for sure. But that was the way that I could empower myself. Fast forward now. So I've only been married for 5 years. Fabulous to you for the 27. That hurts my head to think about. I don't understand commitment at that level, but really the only commitment that I've had that lasted that long besides my parents, and that certainly wasn't my choice, was my daughter, right? And I just realized this, and she just turned 20. I was like, shit, this is the longest relationship I've been in. Honestly. So I don't know about the rest of everyone else, if they've got, all these healthy examples that they've created for myself. This is my world. This is where I'm coming from. So now to be married, to get and have my self-esteem, compliments are contingent on one person. Now, I also want to say that's a construct that I created. That does not mean that it has to be that way, right? Within my coupledom. That's agreements that anybody and everybody gets to make on whether or not you accept, allow, encourage, or flirt with the flirtations of others. And, and please do. If that's, please get them where you get them. And if your partner's not giving to them, fuck them. That's where I'm at now. And I'm saying that I didn't get a compliment yesterday from my husband. Fuck him. That's where I'm at. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a conversation, and it's going to be, are we going to be mature enough? And I'm going to tell you this week, we haven't been the most mature. Are we going to be mature enough to have the conversations to say these things are important to me? And so that's really what I want to get to, Jenny, and just to talk to you about. And I would love to even get some insight from you on that. How do we make this shit work? If you're not giving me the compliments, I've allowed this situation. I've accepted less than. I came into our agreement saying, husband, I'm not going to demand or expect celebration or these or X, Y, and Z. I set that standard, and I'm very aware of that. So here's my question to you, Dr. Jenny. If you could help me and maybe help somebody else who has this question. What do you do? How do we solve? Because this is my real life where I'm at. What if? And lots of women, we do this, and I'm sure men do this, but I can speak for us because I know I've heard this incessant, which is women in America, right? And then I'm going to get to my question. Women in America, as we know, and we've talked about this before, is, we're raised a certain way to have these certain ideas about marriage and what our role is in it, and our role as wife. There's a picture that's been created. And also that means in America, that means your eyeballs have fucking fallen out of your head, and so that you no longer see anybody beautiful, and then you're not certainly supposed to comment on it, and you're suddenly supposed to be invisible to the rest of the world, and suddenly all of my compliments are supposed to come from one person.
Right.
And this is interesting to me. I don't like it. It's not working. And I'm just now realizing how much it's not working for me. So my question is, what do we do when we find ourselves where we've accepted as and I'm just going to speak only then for the woman for at the moment, right, friends? I try to be as inclusive as possible. For right now, I'm just speaking about myself, which is when I've accepted less than because I treated myself as less than, therefore I didn't demand expectations, even though they were my heart's desire, even though they were how I've always maybe wanted to be treated. How do we then say, okay, husband, I now love me. I now understand my own worth and what I should be demanding, expecting as far as what my treatment is. And listen, if you've got a list for me, hand it here. But I don't want us to settle for each other anymore. That's the conversation that we're having, right? Is like, what are these things that we're saying that we're going to pretend don't bother us, but that really freaking bother us and that have been going on for a good hot minute? So that's the question, is do you just write a list and say, hi, husband, here's the things that you didn't do before so much. And maybe I didn't expect a man. You might not even know that this is really what I've wanted all along. I want you to fucking celebrate me. I want my birthday. I want anniversary. I want roses. I want you to send me somewhere. Not only that, now that I love myself, I want you to send me, think and plan something for me where I can go out and do X, Y, Z. Like I have a list now.
Right.
And it seems very unfair to have this list because now I've awakened to myself and what I need and what I want and what I truly want. It doesn't really seem all that fair to then go to my husband, my unsuspecting husband, who thinks everything is probably fabulous, while I'm like, yeah, nothing's wrong, except that I'm not feeling seen, but I also didn't tell you expect it, previously. You get it. What do I do, Dr. Jenny? Kiss and tell me.
Well, first of all, damn.
That's what you got to tell me.
You have so many pieces that you just said to
yes.
a puzzle, and you think I'll be saying one sentence that was correct at all.
Listen, that was the clearest you are ever going to get it from a client, right? From therapy, ever. I expect you to be able to assimilate the information and spit out an answer, woman.
Yeah, I could, but you won't like it.
Maybe. Oh, my goodness. All right. I did. And that's what it was a lot of information. But I feel like it's where a lot of us are at, and it doesn't matter. It's where I'm at, and I need to acknowledge that, what the frack?
But see, to me, and of course, you know yourself better than I know you, obviously. But and hi, Courtney. Courtney Bridges. Say hi.
Hi, Courtney.
Yeah, hi, Courtney. So
yes, let me see the chat. Hey, go ahead.
Based on your whole thing, because you said at least 30 separate pieces, at least. Okay, but to me, it's exacerbated by the fact that you're in a small confined space.
Yes.
Because if you were at home, wherever that may be eventually, that space allows you the ability to put things into perspective. Whereas
Mm,
when you're trapped, everything comes at you at once. It's coming, and you have nowhere to go to escape it.
mm-hmm.
You have nowhere to breathe. You know?
Mm,
So that's part of it. That's part of
mm-hmm.
the reason that it's magnified itself into something huge when
Totally.
when technically it probably isn't as big as you think it is.
Yes.
Because right now it's huge because it's raw.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And here's the other very real possibility is I could also just be finally being honest with myself.
Yeah, you could
You
be,
know?
but you also can be causing problems because you're used to it. You're used to have.
Totally. Totally. In creating a problem where there isn't one just because that's the only way I know how to function. Yes, like right. Admitting that. I said that super easily, but no, I'm that's a thing. Like so to slow that piece down, yes, on excuse me, for in case we didn't catch that was when you're used to, and if you've got a high trauma background, if you've got a hostile situation that you're used to being loud, or yelling or any of those things, all of which tick, yes, check for me. Then of course, even when things are healthy, when things are normal or whatever that means, when that there isn't an issue, for folks that are used to being in those types of situations where there always is an issue, you'll create one simply because that's what you're used to, simply because that's what love has been shown to you, that love's dramatic and loud and, jealous or whatever messages that you've gotten. So a totally valid question, and thank you for that. So some of it, and actually, I can take complete and utter ownership for my shit, which is there are behaviors and things that I don't like and that are certainly not helping the situation. But honestly, at this point, that's not even the thing for me. Really, if I'm super honest, Jenny, like this is the first time in my life I can say that I'm at this space of I have a very strong internal punisher that I've worked with and, work around and, whatever for a very long time. And so that person is like the one that I'm really having to that I'm wrestling with right now versus other, which is I finally got to the place that I was pissed and angry at me and not even now where I need to be pissed and angry at other, whether that's my husband, whether that's my mom, whether that's whoever else that I want to blame for why I'm not happy today, or whatever's going on. And really, so this is the first time though that I can say that I've arrived at this place. On top of, like you said, I've got a pressure cooker. Right. My situation is a little different than a lot of other people. However, at the same time, it's not. What I think, more than anything, what it's doing, it's just highlighting much faster our strengths and weaknesses. I can tell you that much. Much faster, that if there's a good thing going on, we get to see it, really well, really easily. If there's a not so hot thing going on, we get to see it really well, really easily. Whereas when we were in our larger house, if we had an issue, I could literally go at the time, we had a 3,300 square. I could go to the other opposite end of the house. I could put 30 feet of distance, 50 feet of distance and doors between us. I have 2 doors, maybe 3 doors in this building, in my little spot now. So yes, to all of those things is, yeah. And
but instead of using it as an opportunity to see what's wrong, you need to find out what's right.
Yes.
Instead of focusing on the negative of what's happening, and to continue the dribble wheel, if you will.
Yes.
You need to take a step back and say, what am I grateful for?
Yes.
what am I happy about? What am I lucky to have?
And what is working?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And that's for sure where my 8-year-old is begrudgingly going
Mm-hmm.
is to the gratitude. Like it's been a wrestling match, like this internal wrestling match that's going
Mm-hmm.
on, for sure. But just just giving space and conversation and permission to the conversation for anybody that needs it, of like, just I just want to say, just because we're married, just because you're whatever or partnered up or, however it is for you, one, you're not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyeballs didn't fall out of your face, and nor did theirs. So get compliments and get pretty, because other people want to see you feel good about you and be beautiful. And if your partner isn't going to give you compliments, guess what? Go get them from somebody else, and maybe that shakes some shit up. So that's number one. Then
Well,
the
hold
go
on,
ahead.
to stick up for your partner, that
Yeah.
might not be his strength. Some
Oh.
people don't know how to do that. They
Ooh,
have,
say
they,
more.
yeah, they haven't been taught that skill. That
What is
is
the skill? What is the skill that we're talking about?
the skill of acknowledging somebody looking pretty or somebody
Complimenting.
complimenting.
See,
Right,
listen,
right,
listen. This is the conversation we need to have right now, right?
right,
Because when I'm in my good feeling space, I could be like, oh, yes, it's a skill. When I'm in
right.
my not so hot feeling place, you say the things and you do the things according to how you feel about somebody. Why should you have
Mhm.
to be trained on how to observe something nice and then open your effing mouth and say it? So that's the little
Yeah, but
not the therapist me, right?
That's the bitchy side of you.
That's that me. Right? Like, I shouldn't have explained this crap to you. Go ahead, say more.
But no, but seriously, it is a skill to be able. For example, me,
Yeah.
one of my things when I get my hair done, I
Yes.
want somebody to say something.
Yes. And it looks
But
gorgeous, by the way.
thank you, by the way.
And it still does.
But I can walk into a room of people that matter to me, and nobody said diddly do. Okay. Now I think to myself, well, what the hell? What if I spend that money, but I'm not hearing the comment that I want to hear?
But you look
And,
gorgeous. I spent
right,
all this money. The least you could do is notice it changed color.
right, right. So, but then I think to myself, they don't see it because that's not something that matters to them,
Right.
because they don't need that reassurance of
Yes.
how do I look? Do I look good? Look at my new outfit.
Mm,
I lost
mm,
weight.
mm,
Whatever it is. I shaved off my beard. How come you didn't say anything? You know
mm.
what I mean? So
Wow.
that's attention to detail, and most people don't pay attention that closely to detail.
Well, yes, and I agree with that. But what I think, with what you said right before that, which that's a separate situation, right? One is
Mhm.
attention to detail. But what you were saying a moment ago, I need to think about. I
Mhm.
want to chew on it some more, and I want to hear more about it.
Mhm.
Which was, oh, it's so true.
Right,
That's not a thing for them. And that sounds super simple, but like, think about that. It's not just oh, you look nice and let me put on nice clothes today or something like that, right? Like,
right,
most people want to present in a nice fashion.
right,
It's the needing or wanting, desiring, seeking the compliment. And
right,
because, so here's a really easy example. So the last time I saw you online, which now has been a few weeks or a month even, you
right,
had just gotten your hair done. It was the
right,
first thing I noted. Like, I immediately said, oh my gosh, I love your hair.
mhm,
First thing out of my mouth.
right,
However, it's a thing for me. It's a
right,
thing for me, right? Like, and changing my hair color,
right,
or that, especially hair in particular, and for women, it's the fastest, most dramatic outside of makeup that we can do to ourselves. That if you're feeling ugly, feeling fat, feeling gross, feeling whatever the F we're feeling, it's the
right,
fastest way that we can make a dramatic change for ourselves. So I know I've used it in that way for sure. So I'm really like saying that of, it's a
right,
thing for me. So of course it's going to be the first thing I notice in you. Well, isn't that lovely? Like that that feeds that nicely, doesn't it?
And that's the same thing with me. I'll say something too about somebody too. But I'll use myself instead of just focusing on you. For example, when I was a kid, I thought my mother was beautiful. So I constantly said to her how pretty she was. Mom, you're so pretty. Mom, you're so pretty.
Yes.
And I just thought she was not help, so I said it. And I have not heard it once from my kids. Once. And I'm like, wait a minute. I used to tell my mother that all the time. How come I don't hear that from them? Am I not pretty? And then I sat there for a minute and go, oh, would you just shut the hell up? Because that's the dumbest thing you've done to yourself.
Yes.
Put that onus on those two kids. They have to say to you, you're pretty. I should think it, period.
Yes.
Do you see
yes. Totally. Man. Yeah. I like this idea. And I want to say there is absolutely the part of me that is still very, very present that agrees with the little girl that I thought my mom was beautiful, so I said it all the time, which is the line of thinking. And if you're thinking it or you're feeling it, you say it. So if you're not saying it or doing it, you must not be thinking it or feeling it. And so there is that part of me, whether it's the victim part, whether it's the whatevers, or whether it's the smart fucking part that has finally heard enough guys tell me if he's not saying it to you, he doesn't want to. If he's not proposing, he doesn't want to. So there's a colliding of what I know to be true of, yeah, you got to take it at face value as you're being told. And then there's the other piece, which is up for consideration of maybe they don't know how to. Maybe it's not on their radar. Maybe they weren't complimented. So maybe, they're just not used to the giving out of compliments, even if they think that you're the bee's knees, and maybe they don't know how to tell you. Those are all very valid. Yeah. I'm not so appreciative of that type of person.
But I mean, I said
I could be. I could be.
Using myself again, I said to him, yes, my husband and I have been together 27 years. But in November, we've been married 19.
Yeah.
The first 8 years, he didn't want to. He never wanted to get married. But it was me who said, either we do or, thank you. From real. But so he said, okay, and we did. And when he was in probably the first 3 months of it, he said, what took me so long? That was stupid. But he had the thinking that he didn't want to get married based on his history. He didn't want to be in that situation. But now he realized he wasted time. We also did the same thing with kids. He didn't want kids.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he did, and we did.
Yeah. So, my husband was the same, but that's still I guess, I guess really which that's just saying and telling to me is that I'm not very forgiving in that area, I suppose. Is what I was gonna say.
But my thing is it's never one. It's never this. I mean, we do compartmentalize a lot, but it's usually huge. I mean, even with sex, obviously, it's not just about penetration.
Yes,
the definition is huge. What you can do with it.
Yes.
It's not, you can make it vanilla all you want to. Good for you. That's what you want. Yes. But don't keep it here because it can become more than that.
Yes, totally. Well, so for time's sake, we've talked about this and for everything else. We're at 35 minutes and we can keep going. I'm totally down for it. If we need to stop, we need to stop. If there's any questions too, and I know Courtney, you're there and we've got some other friends that are there. If you have questions, feel free to jump in because I'm like Jenny said, I'm giving a lot of information about the moving parts.
Yeah.
But again, it's we get to these places, so then what are we going to do to get past it? And obviously I'm not just coming on, well, I'm not going to say obviously because you don't know that. I'm not just coming on here to bitch and to say, stuff's falling apart. There's been amazing communication. There's been, is again, the in being in this situation with the close quarters and all of this is the best parts of us are coming out and being highlighted, and the worst parts. Holy crap. And so with that, though, is communication is forced to have to be better than what it was, because I don't know if you know anything about we've got a toy hauler versus an RV. So we don't have a classic, like where you don't just drive off like a big bus where it's all connected. It's my vehicle pulling a thing. And it's got slide outs, and you've got to hook up, pipes, and you got to hook up electricity for people that don't know, you've got to make your house work. And you can do it by yourself much easier, much faster with someone else. And so, the really good parts in all of this, including sex, right? Because if you thought, or if we thought, or whatever, if we weren't having sex in our big house where we could create space, we could create dark, and we could create climate, we could create, day and night in it much easier than what we can in this thing. Our baby sleeps with us. Our other one is in, dude, talk about rocking stuff or any of that, like if you're going to be doing any sort of, if you walk through there without walking lightly, they're shaking the spot. So like negotiating, what is that going to look like? If you're someone who's also stuck on missionary at night in the bed, and that's what sex is for you, and there's no tea, no shade, if that's your life, fabulous. But then that's not going to work so much in these other different types of situations. And so then before we know it, it is going to be a very long time with a lot of resentments. And I don't have a whole lot of outlets right now. So if you, we need all the outlets we can get. So the thing that has really been amazing about this little pressure cooker of a situation as well, though, is the communication on all topics, especially topics that we were uncomfortable about before, just because of the fact that you can't tolerate the same amount of disconnect when you're, well, how about I back that up? I can't tolerate, a lot of relationships can't tolerate when you can see it that much in your face, the disconnect, right? If you choose to ignore each other and you go to this room, they go to this room, and that's your pattern, and you can hang on to that for 3 weeks, maybe even a month. You don't really talk, certainly not having sex, just kind of passing by each other.
Right.
We can't do that here.
Right.
And honestly, that was some of our pattern. There was a lot of avoidance sometimes. There was a lot of not talking about the stuff. And this has certainly forced a lot more, and the growth and the conversations and what are we going to do, and looking at it more plainly and more matter-of-factly. Some people might be gasping. I'm like, holy shit, she just said that out loud. You were talking about divorce. Oh my God, you're not supposed to say that. You're certainly not supposed to say it to the person you're with. I said it. I said, listen, I've been thinking about divorce like crazy this week. Why? Right? It's not all me. Let's talk about it. What the F is going on? And that is dramatic. Yes, that's a dramatic place to go. How and why did I get there? Let's talk about it before we get there. Yeah. We got to grow up. It's not so easy.
No, it's not. I'm just going to put up the banner for next podcast.
Yes.
In 2 weeks with the former content moderator, Jessica Ross. She's a sex therapist, researcher, and educator, and she specializes in sexual sovereignty and exploration.
Love. Yes. Jessica Ross, September 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And she is one of the a former content writer for KNT. Yes?
Yes, correct.
Yes. Okay. Sex therapist, researcher, educator. Fabulous. So you're not going to want to miss that 2 weeks from today. And of course, friends, as always, again, I talk fast and I just kind of jumped right into a story and that's that. But if you have questions, if you want to hear more, if you want resources, I mean, I literally touched on so many things, sex abuse and any trauma and things like that. Then whether that's me, whether that's even reaching out to KNT, if I know Jenny's got resources. We all have resources. If you just want to know more about that, or you want to hear me talk about it or write about that more, or any of us for that matter, then please let us know if there was something. Again, we went very quickly over a lot of it, lots of good stuff. And Jenny, I also want to say thank you for.
Oh, thank you for joining. And yes, as a KNT subscriber, you dictate what we write about. And, so if it's something that you need us to talk about, we'd be happy to do.
And I've kissed a lot of folks, and I'm happy to tell about it. So but
the first thing you have to do is become a subscriber.
Oh, subscribe, hit the notification, like, and please share. Yes. Thank you for joining us on this platform, as well as our other platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are the places we're most active, and soon to come to some of the other platforms as well.
And Twitter.
Anything else?
I'm going to play that music.
And we're going to play the music. The music. Have a great